Welcome to ITRMC HRU Virtual Research Classroom. Following are a few reminders before we begin. It is helpful to use a two-way earphones and headset for clearer audio input. Lectures are in PowerPoint presentation. Device must be in full screen mode for better viewing. For your questions, you may send them to our email address. Answers to your questions will be posted in the virtual classroom as a separate Q&A video as soon as available. After this lecture, an evaluation form will be sent to you. Kindly accomplish this form. Videos may be viewed on demand on our YouTube channel. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. This is Dr. John Michael Mendoza, Vice Chair of the Research and Development Section of ITRMC Hospital Research Unit. Today, we will be having the first of the lecture series from ITRMC HRU Virtual Research Classroom. The Virtual Research Classroom is an online-based educational platform, and its goal is to enhance ITRMC medical and paramedical personnel's knowledge in conducting a sound scientific research. Today, we have an esteemed speaker to lecture on the guidelines in writing the manuscript for publication. He is a fellow in the Philippine College of Radiology and CTMRI Society of the Philippines. He is also a diplomate in the Philippine Specialty Board of Nuclear Medicine. He is a radiology consultant at the following institutions: Ilocos Training and Regional Medical Center, Lorma Medical Center, Bethany Hospital, Suero General Hospital, and Pira General Hospital. He is a visiting consultant in PET-CT Center in Makati Medical Center. He finished his PET-CT fellowship at University of Zurich in Switzerland. He is a recipient in Introduction to Research for International Young Academics of Radiological Society of North America in 2019. He is also the chair of Research and Development Committee of ITRMC HRU. He also has multiple publications in the field of medicine and radiology. And without further ado, let us welcome our very own Dr. Ranil Joseph Ferrer Bautista to lecture on the guidelines in writing the manuscript for publication.
Good morning. In this lecture, you will learn the guidelines in writing the manuscript for publication. I don't have any financial or conflict of interest to disclose. Here's my humble profile, and I would like to thank the moderator for introducing me well to my virtual audience. For the flow of my lecture, first I will introduce and briefly describe the types of scientific paper in medical journal, followed by an in-depth discussion on the standard format of original articles. Here are the types of scientific paper you may encounter in medical journals. The first one is an original article. This is an important type because you will be using this as reference when you do your research. This represents original research work, usually prospective, and supported by in-depth statistical analysis. It consists of structured abstract and IMRAD, which will be discussed further later. The next type is the case report. It is a descriptive paper of case with unique features, new imaging modality or diagnostic test, previously unreported observation of a recognized disease, a novel clinical condition like COVID-19, previously unreported treatment in a recognized disease or complication of a procedure. It consists of short abstract, sometimes none, brief introduction, case report, and discussion. Oftentimes, limited number of figures, references, and authorship. Then you may also encounter a technical note, which describes a specific technique or procedure or a modification of an existing technique or new equipment. It consists of an abstract, sometimes none, brief introduction, methods, results and discussion, which may be combined under the heading of technique. There are also pictorial essay, which is a teaching article that relies on the quality of its images. Therefore, text is limited with much of the message contained in figure legends. It consists of short, structured, abstract, sometimes none, brief introduction, optional subheadings, and discussion. Another important type of paper, which you may also use as reference, is a review, which is a detailed analysis of recent developments on a specific topic. It serves to highlight important points that have been previously reported in the literature, and it is consists of unstructured abstract, introduction, and subheading. And usually this is invited by the editor, hence this is also known as invited reviews. Another type is a commentary, which is a short article that describes the author's perspective or personal experience of a specific topic, usually a controversial one. It outlines various viewpoints that exist. It consists of unstructured abstract, sometimes none, introduction, and subheading. Likewise, commentaries are invited by the editor, therefore it is also known as invited commentaries. You may also encounter editorial, which may take several forms, most often a short review or critique of original articles accepted for publication in the same issue of the journal, or a subject that does not warrant full review. At times, an editorial may serve to draw attention to very recent innovations or subjects of general interest to readers. Editorials are invited by the editor or written by the editor himself. Letters or correspondence section can be found in many journals too, usually short, objective, and constructive. This section may sometimes also be used by floating new hypotheses and for drawing readers' attention to important hazards and points of interest or relevance to clinical practice. There are lots of other papers that you may encounter, and this include historical articles, works in progress or short communications, a special report, evidence-based practice, health policy and practices, experimental studies, information technology, and instructional and teaching articles. Or you may see non-scientific papers which adds character to the journal. It serves a purpose of informing, educating, providing light-hearted reading to readers, and examples are book reviews, proceedings of scientific meetings, obituaries, tributes, materia non-medica, speeches, and special communications. Among these, our discussion will center on original articles, since it will be this type that all of you are required to prepare as well. Original articles must be written following certain recommended structure. In writing your manuscript for submission to a medical journal, always remember that organization and structure takes precedence over literary skills. Take note also that some journals have their own in-house style, giving rise to minor variations. However, journals have the following standard components: title and title page, abstract and keywords, and text arranged according to IMRAD, which stands for Introduction, Methods, Results, and Discussion. You may also include acknowledgments if there are any. Tables, figures, graphs, and appendices are all optional, and references, bibliography completes the scientific article. For references or bibliography, recommended format for most publication is the Vancouver method. So let us now discuss the different components in detail, starting of course with the title. The title gives the first impression of your work, therefore it should be attractive, but more importantly, it should accurately convey what your paper is all about. Let's take in, for example, this journal I come across while browsing entitled Fantastic Yeast and Where to Find Them: The Discovery of a Predominantly Clonal Cryptococcus neoformans Population in Saudi Arabian Soils. Is it attractive? Definitely. It reminds me of the movie Fantastic Beast and Where to Find Them, if you're familiar with that. Hilarious as it may sound, I think this is a good one because it really conveys what the paper is all about. The title is the first thing that will be seen by the editor, by the reviewers, and by the journal readers. Therefore, if your title is unable to attract the attention of these people, then less likely for them to read the rest of the contents of your paper. Hence, having a good title is desirable. So, how can you make a good title? Just remember this: a good title is concise, meaning you have to use as few words as possible because lengthy ones may not only be difficult to decipher, but also may discourage your potential reader. It should also be informative, meaning the subject matter should be indicated in the title. You should avoid adding extraneous details such as objectives, methods, or results from your study. Another importance of the title is that it also appears in the journal issue contents page and may also be part of an email notification or internet search result. How about these titles? Which one do you think is correct? Diagnosis of breast malignancy. Short, but not specific enough, so that's wrong. Breast elastography. Short, but not specific enough and lacks detail. And the last one, elastography in the diagnosis of breast malignancy. Attractive, yes, because elastography is quite a new technique and a subject of many recent researches. Concise, yet informative. So this is the correct one and how you should write your title. Now here are some things you should avoid in making your title. You should not use abbreviations. Example, BE for breast elastography or BM for breast malignancy. Please also avoid using jargon or slang, especially nowadays. Millennials have rich vocabularies or slang. Example, breast elastography is a shook, or flexing elastography, the new high key in breast imaging. I like how the second one sounds though, so catchy, right? What do the millennials out there think? I won't be surprised if this slang will be acceptable sooner or later, but for now, please avoid it. You should also construct your title such that it is tailored to your target readers or the so-called target readership. For a subspecialty journal, the authors can assume that the reader will be familiar with certain terms which can then be omitted from the title. In contrast, these same terms may be required to provide clarity for readers of a general medical journal. Remember, short titles take up less space, thus fonts for these titles are often larger and are favored by editors. You may use provocative title if the subject really warrants, but avoid being sensationist. Let's illustrate. In this research question, is breast elastography really useful for diagnosing breast malignancy? The sensationist way of putting it into a title is elastography, the future of breast malignancy imaging. This sounds great, but quite overstated. So please don't do that unless necessary. We now move on to the title page. Here, you can find the information about the authors, their affiliations, and contact details. There are two types of title page that you should be aware of, which most journal would require. One blinded and one complete or unblinded. The blinded title page consists of only the title and is sent to the reviewers with the rest of the blinded manuscript. There should not be any identifying information. The complete title page, on the other hand, contains the title as well as the names of all authors, affiliations of all authors, and the complete contact information of the corresponding author. This page serves to identify and give credit to the authors who did the work and to the institution or institutions at which the work was done. Authors are advised to follow the particular journal's instructions to authors or author guidelines for constructing the title page. As an author, it is important that you standardize your name format prior to submission. This is to prevent separation of your work in the scientific literature databases. Likewise, because it can be a potential source of confusion for other researchers. Here are examples. Li Yimeng may be inaccurately cited as L. Yimeng instead of E.M. Li. Tawfiq bin Rosli may prefer to be cited as R. Tawfiq rather than T.D. Rosby, therefore may omit the bin. For female authors, you may want to stick to your maiden or adopt your married surname. Religious conversions like Baliwant Delongsi may be renamed Bidi Abdullah after religious conversions. Regarding authors' institutional affiliation, you should list the one at which the work was done. When two or more authors are listed, each in a different institution, the addresses should be listed in the same order as the authors and clearly labeled to the author's name, usually by alphabetical or numerical superscripts or symbol. Please avoid listing multiple affiliations for single author. You should inform the journal editorial office for any change in address for correspondence. Some journals add the new address as present address footnote. Remember, failing to provide updated address may lead to a delay in publication. The author's contact information should consist of the following: full mailing address including postal code, telephone and fax numbers with country and city codes, and current email address. Let us now discuss abstract and keywords. The abstract is a concise, accurate, and factual mini version of your research paper. The format may vary according to the individual journal. For original articles, a structured abstract usually consists of the following headings: aims or objectives, materials and methods, results, conclusion. According to the International Committee of Medical Journal Editors or ICMJE, the abstract should provide the context or background for the study and should state the study's purposes, basic procedures, including selection of study subjects or laboratory animals, observational and analytical methods, main findings giving specific effect sizes and their statistical significance if possible, and principal conclusions. The new and important aspects of the study or observations should be emphasized. The abstract is also the sole representation of your research project submitted as proffered oral presentation or poster for a scientific congress. As abstracts are the only substantive portion of the article indexed in many electronic databases such as Medline and PubMed or Science Citation Index, you need to be careful that your abstracts accurately reflect the contents of your paper. The format and length required for abstracts differ from journal and journal, hence you should prepare the format specified by the journal you wish to submit your paper to. It may be unstructured or structured, depending on the journal style, but most original scientific articles require a structured abstract. Many authors regard the abstract as the most difficult part of scientific paper to write, and most experienced authors advise to write your abstract after completing the body of your manuscript. Most journals impose a word limit on the abstract, typically 150 to 200 words or less for unstructured abstracts, and 200 to 300 words or less for structured abstracts. Remember to include actual data in your abstract but exclude references. Again, avoid abbreviations, jargons, or ambiguous terms. Keywords are short phrases that capture the main topics of the paper, and most journals will require you to provide about 3 to 10 short phrases. Keywords will assist indexers in cross-indexing the article in medical literatures and are often published with the abstract. To choose the most appropriate keywords, you should understand the subject and purpose of your paper. The most important concepts should be selected, and then these concepts should be expressed in words which match the retrieval words of readers. Typically, keywords reflect the anatomical region of interest. Example from this title, elastography in the diagnosis of breast malignancy. You may use breast as keyword. The modality and procedure used, elastography or breast imaging, and the pathological process, breast malignancy, or breast cancer may be selected as keywords. Your selected keyword should be checked against established indexing systems or database like Medline or PubMed. Ideally, terms from the medical subject headings or mesh list should be used. However, if not yet available for recently introduced terms, you may use the new term. For your information, NESH is the U.S. National Library of Medicine's controlled vocabulary thesaurus and is used for indexing articles from 4,800 of the world's leading biomedical journals for Medline or PubMed database.